Get this trash out of here before she embarrasses us all. Veronica Beaumont grabbed Lila Monroe's wrist and shoved her backward. The young black woman staggered, her simple black dress snagged on a champagne table, glasses clinking like an alarm. Trevor raised his phone, zooming in on Lila's face. This clip is going straight to TikTok. Poor thing thinks she belongs here. Bianca snatched the invitation from Lila's hand, waving it like a trophy. Look, everyone! Someone's playing dress up with a fake ticket. She tore it in half. The fragments fluttered down onto the marble floor of the museum hall like scraps of confetti. The sound of tearing paper rang out sharp in the sudden silence. Security staff began edging closer. The Beaumont family tightened into a circle around Lila, phones held high, recording her humiliation from every angle. 200 elite guests turned their heads, savoring this unscripted entertainment. Lila bent down her hands, trembling slightly, gathering the torn pieces as laughter rippled outward like waves. Have you ever had your dignity shredded in front of a crowd by people who had no idea they were signing their own sentence? The ticket fragments lay scattered around Lila's feet, glinting under the lights like extinguished fireworks. She knelt gracefully, collecting each piece while Veronica stood above her, voice dripping with theatrical sweetness. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a guest who wandered in through the wrong door. Some people just don't understand the meaning of exclusivity. Trevor adjusted his frame, speaking straight into the camera. This is peak delusion when keeping it real goes way too far. Views spiked instantly. Bianca switched to live stream, her follower count climbing at dizzying speed. Lila kept her head bowed, cradling the shattered invitation, her serenity so unwavering that for one fleeting moment the entire hall seemed to realize it was being judged. Somewhere within the velvet circle and glowing lenses, the dignity of one human being still stood tall. Whispers spread like an undercurrent. iPhones glittered under the lights, capturing Lila's every move. Trevor whispered to his virtual audience, "Folks, you're watching delusion hit rock bottom." The numbers beneath his clip surged 15,000, 20,000, then 30,000 views in mere minutes. Bianca angled her phone, whispering theatrically, "This is honestly painful to watch. It feels like secondhand embarrassment is killing me." Her follower count skyrocketed, comments flooding the screen. "Kick her out already. So cringe. Why isn't security acting yet?" Meanwhile, ball gowns and tuxedos worth thousands of dollars pressed closer, forming a sealed circle. Each person became a secondary cameraman, their phone lights reflected on marble, turning the scene into an impromptu stage. Quiet giggles, gleeful whispers all blended into a mocking chorus. At the center, Lila sat still. Her hands shook faintly, but her eyes held no tears. Each torn piece of the ticket was laid carefully into her palm like fragile evidence. Her steadfast silence only heightened the crowd's frenzy, an unsettling counterpoint to their feverish curiosity. Do you feel it? That fragile line where a minor mishap morphs into a collective spectacle on social media? They laugh, they film, they comment, but no one asks themselves what they're complicit in. In a shadowed corner, a few older guests exchanged troubled glances. A well-known doctor frowned. A retired judge quietly raised his phone to record, not for ridicule, but to preserve evidence. Amid the chaotic whirl of mockery, the first seeds of resistance had begun to sprout. As the tension thickened, two black-suited security officers stepped forward. Their faces betrayed hesitation, as though unsure how to act in a hall full of power players, all pointing their phones at a lone young woman. Daniel Harris, head of security, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I need to verify your invitation in order to resolve this matter." His voice was low, yet carried through the silence. Standing right behind him was Elaine Porter, the museum director, her face taut eyes darting nervously over the restless guests. Veronica let out a shrill laugh. "Oh, Daniel!" "Darling, the evidence is right there on the floor. Torn up paper probably printed at some copy shop in Queens. What's left to verify?" The crowd pressed in, tightening the circle. Phone lights reflected in Lila's eyes, glimmering like the gaze of predators. The air grew so heavy that each breath felt burdened. Director Porter gripped her tablet tightly, scrolling through the donor list. Williams Foundation. Platinum sponsor contribution $100,000. Her voice trembled. Trevor immediately cut in, still filming. "Anyone can steal a foundation name." "My dad used to handle corporate security. Tell them about identity theft." "Dad." Robert Beaumont had just pushed his way into the circle, scowling as his phone buzzed nonstop. "What's all this racket? I have a crucial signing tomorrow morning. Don't waste my time." Veronica brushed him off. "Set business aside, Richard. We're dealing with a social emergency." Event coordinator Sylvia Miller rushed over, whispering urgently to Harris. "Sir, the auction starts in 8 minutes. We need this resolved quickly." While everyone argued, Lila slowly rose to her feet. In her hands, the ragged fragments formed a broken shape, but her eyes remained calm, disturbingly calm. Lila gently raised the torn pieces in her hand, her voice low but clear. "I understand. There's been some confusion about my presence tonight." Bianca burst out laughing, pushing her phone closer. "Confusion? There's no confusion here. You don't belong. This isn't some community center fundraiser." Her live stream exploded with comments. "Kick her out already. So cringe. This girl is delusional." Across the room, retired Judge Jonathan Moore quietly activated his camera, his expression grave. Beside him, Dr. Charlotte Green whispered, "This is beyond cruel, like a public execution." Veronica swiveled sharply, her tone laced with mockery. "Charlotte, surely you understand standards. Events like this require boundaries." Charlotte arched a brow. Boundaries? Or prejudices? The air shifted. A few guests exchanged uneasy looks, realizing this had gone too far for entertainment. "Head of security." Harris tried to maintain order, "Ma'am, if possible. Please provide another form of identification." But Veronica cut him off, voice sharp. "Unnecessary. The Beaumonts have donated over $2 million to this museum. Our word should suffice. Just look at her cheap clothes alone. Tell the story." The crowd chuckled, a few voices shouting, "Escort her out already." Meanwhile, Director Porter still peered at her tablet. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Hands trembling. "Williams Foundation. Platinum sponsor. Contribution confirmed $100,000. Her words rang out, silencing a few murmurs. But Trevor jumped in quickly. "Anyone can borrow a name. She's just playing dress-up. Keep filming, this will be a 1,000,000-view video." Lila remained unmoving, her eyes calm. Amid the chaos, the first hint of truth had surfaced. The murmur in the grand hall grew louder. Veronica seized the moment, her voice sharp as a blade. "Look around, everyone. This is a $10,000 a plate gala. That dress is off the discount rack, those shoes from some cheap street corner. Do you really think someone like her could sit among us?" The crowd erupted in laughter, a few whistles of agreement. Trevor panned his camera down to Lila's small clutch, sneering. "That bag's a knockoff." No question. No real player would be fooled. His TikTok flooded with comments, "Total fake." "Get her out." A woman's voice rang out from the back. "Just have security remove her already. Why drag this out?" Another chimed in. "This is getting hard to watch. Why isn't management stepping in?" Inside Lila's clutch. Her phone buzzed incessantly. The screen flashed Dad. Marcus Williams. Urgent. A few nearby guests glimpsed it, murmuring in surprise, yet Lila calmly pressed decline, not saying a word. Veronica pounced. See, even her phone is disruptive. Not only is she trespassing, she's disturbing order. Her words poured fuel on the mob's anger. Harris frowned, struggling to maintain procedure. Ma'am, I still need another form of ID, Trevor cut him off. What more do you need? Fake ticket, cheap clothes, refusal to cooperate. We've got all the proof we need. The museum's official photographer quietly kept snapping, capturing it all, the sneers, the jeers, and Lila's still calm figure standing at the eye of a storm of prejudice that was spiraling out of control. The atmosphere in the museum grew suffocating. Laughter and jeers now mingled with murmurs of unease. Dr. Charlotte, green eyes lit by chandelier glow, whispered to her husband, "This is horrific. They're tormenting her simply for being different." Judge Jonathan Moore, phone recording, steadily nodded. "This is open prejudice. We must document it." Catching the words, Veronica whirled around Charlotte. "You're naive. This isn't a charity clinic. It's an elite gala. Standards must be upheld." Charlotte's tone sharpened. Standards or bias. What's the difference when boundaries are drawn solely to exclude? A tremor of silence rippled through the hall. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Sensing resistance, Trevor amped up his performance, phone lifted. "See, folks, this is reality-smashing delusion. Watch closely. This is the ultimate live lesson." His TikTok hit 50,000 views. At the back, Harris pressed on, trying to stay professional. "Ma'am, I still need ID to resolve this properly." But Veronica intercepted cold. "The Beaumonts have given over $2 million to this institution. Our judgment is enough." She gestured at Lila. "One look is proof she doesn't belong." As the crowd closed in tighter, some witnesses quietly shifted sides. Phones no longer filmed only for mockery, some now recorded evidence for justice. In that moment, the balance of opinion began to tilt. The circle of glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos tightened a sparkling noose around Lila. The air grew so thick each breath seemed audible. Phones glared from all sides, their screens casting her face into a courtroom without defense. Harris tried gently. "Ma'am, will you step outside with us to verify privately?" But Veronica thrust up a hand, her voice slicing the hall. "No. This must be handled publicly. Everyone has witnessed her deception. To take her aside now would only encourage further lies." The crowd cheered agreement, shouts of yes, and "throw her out" echoing, yet others muttered uneasily, realizing this was veering into cruelty. Lila's phone buzzed again, the screen flashing Dad. Marcus Williams. "Emergency." A guest nearby whispered, "Marcus Williams. That name sounds familiar." But Lila calmly declined, once more her gaze steady. Veronica smirked. "Even her calls are disruptive. Proof of no manners." Trevor swung his camera in closer, laughing darkly. "People, this is the collapse of delusion in real time." She's cornered. View counts spiked, comments mocking faster than ever. Yet Lila's silence, no anger, no pleading, struck a few onlookers with unease. Amid the mob's howls, her composure reflected back like a mirror, forcing the question, who was truly losing face here? Mocking laughter still echoed when Lila slipped her hand into her clutch. The room held its breath. Some expected an ID, others another futile ticket. Instead, she drew out her phone, slowly dialed, and pressed speaker. The ring sounded once before connecting. Her voice rang calm and steady across the hall. "Hello, Dad." Yes, I'm still at the Met Museum. I think you should hear firsthand what the Beaumont family thinks about our community." Silence swept the crowd. Veronica's smile-faltered eyes flickering with unease. Trevor kept filming, but his hands trembled. Bianca froze her live stream, glitching for a beat. Lila continued clear as glass. "I'm here with Veronica, Trevor, Bianca, and Robert Beaumont. Tonight, they taught me by tearing up the Williams Foundation invitation and calling me trash. I thought you'd want to know." Director Porter suddenly went pale. Her hands shook as she scrolled the donor list again. The words glared: Williams Foundation, platinum sponsor, $100,000. Her voice cracked. "Oh my God." A murmur swept the hall. Guests whipped out their phones, typing fast. Marcus Williams, Williams Tech. Gasps rippled the tech CEO. Forbes billionaire. 12.7 billion. A glass shattered on marble as someone dropped it. Trevor still streamed, but his face drained of color. TikTok comments flipped instantly. Wait. Marcus Williams. Her dad. The Beaumonts are finished. Lila stood tall, gaze unwavering. The reversal had arrived, and in that instant the balance of power in the opulent hall collapsed. The lavish hall fell deathly quiet. Phones once raised in ridicule now captured the Beaumonts' panic. Veronica swallowed hard, voice rasping, "No, this can't be true." Lila spoke steadily. "Dad, they tore our foundation's invitation, called it fake. They called me trash, tried to turn my humiliation into TikTok and Instagram entertainment." Trevor lived to tens of thousands, suddenly felt his hands shaking. Comments poured in. "Is this real? Marcus Williams is her father. The Beaumonts just destroyed themselves." Bianca fumbled to end her stream, but it was too late. 40,000 had watched, and screen recordings were already multiplying online. Robert's face turned ghostly. He muttered Marcus Williams. That $750 million signing tomorrow. Loud enough for nearby guests to hear, sparking another wave of whispers. Director Porter clutched her tablet, stammering, You're Lila Williams." When Lila nodded, a collective gasp swept the hall, as though 100 souls realized their complicity at once. Veronica tried to salvage it, voice breaking. We didn't know." Lila cut her off, eyes cold. "Didn't know a black woman could be the daughter of the largest sponsor? Didn't know a simple dress doesn't mean poverty? Or didn't know your actions would be recorded by thousands of eyes?" In that moment, power reversed. The Beaumonts, once the hunters, now stood trapped in the spotlight of countless cameras. But this time no one applauded. A heavy sound echoed as the grand doors swung open. Enter Marcus Williams Tall, commanding in a charcoal Tom Ford suit flanked by 2 aides and a lawyer. His very presence hushed the once rowdy hall, a storm of authority sweeping in. He did not rush. His gaze scanned the crowd, then settled on his daughter. "Lila, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Dad. Just received a very expensive lesson." Her calm voice sent a shiver through the hall. The Beaumonts clustered behind Robert as if he could shield them. Veronica forced a strained smile, eyes vacant. Trevor lowered his phone. Bianca looked down, hands trembling. Marcus addressed Director Porter, clutching her tablet. "You didn't cause this, but you are accountable for how your institution responds. We'll discuss later." Then he turned to Robert. "As for you, perhaps we should talk numbers." He unfolded a dossier, his voice measured every word, a blade. Current debt, $1.2 billion. Stock down 73%. Out this year. Quarterly losses, $89 million. Without my company's partnership, how many days before Beaumont Industries collapses? Robert's lips moved soundlessly. Marcus fixed him with an icy stare. 67 days. That's all you have left. And tomorrow's signing, consider it postponed indefinitely. Gasps erupted. Phones recorded from every angle. A minute ago, Lila was their spectacle. Now the Beaumonts were the exhibit of public ruin. The museum fell utterly silent save for the clicks of hundreds of cameras. The Beaumonts huddled together pale as if awaiting execution. Marcus lowered his voice firm as iron. My company only partners with those who uphold dignity and justice. Tonight you've all seen what values the Beaumont family lives by. Robert's lips quivered as he pleaded, Marcus, don't let this personal matter wreck a business deal. Thousands of jobs are at stake. Before Marcus could respond, Lila stepped forward, her voice ringing clear and unyielding. Dad, I have a proposal. They've shown who they are, but they could also prove who they're willing to become. A final chance tied to accountability. All eyes turned to her. She laid down each condition like hammer blows. First, a public apology to everyone here and to the online community who witnessed this. Second, mandatory bias and diversity training for Beaumont's entire board. Third, a $10 million fund to support anti-discrimination organizations. Finally, quarterly independent audits to ensure the change is real, not cosmetic. 6 months later, the very museum hall where Lila was humiliated hosted a different gathering. The Beaumont-Williams Responsibility Summit. Instead of jeers, the air held seriousness and hope. Over 300 business leaders, diversity experts, and social activists convened. Director Porter stood at the podium, voice confident 6 months ago, this place nearly became an indelible stain. Thanks to one young woman's resolve, it became the starting point for change. In the front row, the Beaumont family sat quietly. Veronica wore a simple navy dress, no diamonds. Trevor wasn't filming TikTok. He took notes. Bianca nodded along to each speaker's story. Richard took the stage slow but steady. I won't talk profits or stock today. Instead, people. He clicked the slide minority leadership up from 3% to 31%, women in executive roles from 12% to 47%, over 35% of supply contracts awarded to businesses owned by marginalized communities. Sustained applause filled the room. Then Lila took center. Under the lights, her calm, commanding face shone. Half a year ago, I was called trash and had my invitation torn up. Today, I witnessed change not only in one family but across a system. Her voice strengthened. Justice isn't only punishment. It's opening a path for others to dare to change. The hall rose in a standing ovation. A story once a stain had become a symbol of legacy, from humiliation to reform, from prejudice to fairness. And at the start of it all stood the unshaken composure of a young woman in a simple black dress.